Bonjour everyone and welcome back to the Waves of Your Soul. I am super pumped for today's video. Really wanted to do a spotlight on some awesome oracle decks. I've got some indie oracle decks, some mass market oracle decks that I've been enjoying in the last recent months that I wanted to shout out and share with you how I've been using them, different ways that they are used in my practice, because at my core being I always thought I was a tarot girly, okay? I was convinced I was a tarot girly. And then recently I redid my shelves. If you've seen that on Instagram, it was a whole thing. I redid my whole tarot shelf, took out of my tarot and oracle collections and resorted everything by theme. And I realized that me thinking that I was a tarot girly was purely delusional because turns out I have almost as many oracle decks as I have tarot, but also by me analyzing my practice more clearly, I use oracles nearly as much as I use tarot. So that was the revelation of this year. We're gonna be doing an oracle spotlight. I'm gonna share with you some awesome decks I've been using, and I actually did one about 2-3 months ago. You seem to have really enjoyed it. I'll leave it in the cards somewhere. And if you're new here, hi, my name is Marine. It's so nice to have you on my channel. I love talking about decks and I love reading the cards. So if you'd like to see any more of that, please feel free to subscribe. In the description box you'll find all the names of the decks I'm sharing in case my froggy French accent gets in the way. You will also find all of my other social media links as well as other videos of mine you might want to check out. And now that I've done my good YouTuber intro, let's get into the video. Hello, what do we think of this cute little setup? I'm kind of here for the fairy lights and the name of my channel and everything. I wanted to do something a bit different today. Plus it's pouring down with rain. There's a storm where I live. I live on a tropical island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. When it rains, it's not joking. So the luminosity is kind of weird today. Even though it's the middle of the day, it feels almost like nighttime because it's so dark clouds outside. So I wanted to add a little bit of light in my decor today. Anyway, decor aside, how are you? How are you all doing? Happy November. At the time of me filming, it's early November, so I hope you're all doing good and having a good beginning of the month. Like I said, we're going to be talking about oracle decks today, so let's start with one deck that I've been absolutely loving in the last few months. This is the Roots and Wings Oracle. This is the mini edition. I have to thank my friend Angie from A Cup of Tarot on Instagram. I leave the link to her tarot page down below. She is the sweetest, so please go tell her and say hi. We did a little deck swap a few months ago, and in her package that she sent me this version of the Root and Wings Oracle because she wasn't really bonding with it and she thought that I might enjoy it, and oh boy was she right. I have been loving the heck out of this little deck. Like I said, this is a mini edition, but yes, I believe it exists in a more like normal oracle size. I'm not 100% sure what the exact size is, but this is an indie deck that is nature based. And first of all, the artwork is very beautiful. I am so touched by this particular watercolor style. I think it's very ethereal. Is that even an English word? Ethereal? I don't even know, you guys. It looks very like beautiful and almost angelic in some ways, and the keywords are what totally sold me on it, because the keywords are so expansive and broad and wide and they don't box you in. Oracle deck for me is the perfect all-rounder. It's an oracle deck I would have no problem using almost as a tarot deck due to the fact that it's super balanced. It has light and shadow keywords, 63 cards, so we are very close to tarot size, and again, the fact that it's very balanced I think makes this perfect for doing big spreads and for pairing with tarot, because it's gonna match the tarot energy, which has also light and shadow. So I love this particular deck and I've been loving it recently for pairing with all of my nature tarot decks and for doing big spreads, like for doing all of the pairings with larger spreads when I want to really do like months ahead and I want to get deep in there, and I'm even thinking of potentially using this particular deck for my year ahead, which says a lot because I can be super picky with the decks I want to use for my year ahead. But I think this has beautiful energy, and the size as well, the fact that it's the mini size makes this great for doing larger spreads. It's giving a little bit like Lenormand vibe, which I'm here for. So yeah, the first I wanted to shout out is the Roots and Wings. It's beautiful, it's well balanced, it matches with a lot of decks, and I've been loving it. Okay, the next oracle deck I wanted to shout out, the next oracle deck I've been loving in the recent months is an oldie but a goodie. This is The Secret Language of Animals by Chip Richards. This is an older deck. I think the first printing was 2013. It's by Blue Angel and it's mass market, like I was saying. This is an oracle deck that is something I always come back to. First off, because it's one of the first ones that I own. So you know, when you build that relationship with your decks, when you've built all those like memories with it, it's nice to come back to them. It's like an old friend, right? You go back, you pick up where you left off, and it feels like no time has passed. That's how I feel with this deck. And yeah, I've got a lot of random shit in it. I've got a leaf, I've got some Botswana agate, like I leave some random things in my deck, so don't mind me. So it comes with a really good guidebook for each of the cards. You have some keywords, you have a message around teaching you more about the animal that it represents, the habits that they have, their characteristics and everything. So a more like scientific approach or historical approach or mythological approach, for example. And then you have your divinatory message, and at the end you always have a little bit like a mantra or a prayer, something like that, that wraps up the message for those animals. By the way, I've edged mine in gold. It doesn't come this way, but my copy was so beat up it needed a little bit of a refresh because girl, she was showing some signs, okay? She was dirty. So we refreshed her a little bit. This oracle is very special because as animal decks goes, this is only representing animals that are endangered species. So I think that already gives it a unique angle because it is reminding us that all of those different animals that are endangered, that are endangered of extinction because of us, actually have so much wisdom to impart. And so working with this particular energy is very special, especially if you're someone like me who loves working with nature. Like working with nature is a big part of my spiritual practice. It's a big part of how I connect with my guides or with my spiritual journey. Like that, working with nature, with plants, with animals, being in nature is nature is my church, okay? That's the best way I could put it. So working with animals is just something that comes naturally to me, but working with endangered species I think has its particular angle and particular uniqueness because it's a reminder of how we fuck up as humans and how we have a responsibility to try and be better, to try and make it better. So this is a beautiful deck to remind us of how we need to be better, but on top of that it's a beautiful deck to remind us how awesome and gorgeous and special nature can be. So you have different animals sorted by different elements. We have air connected animals, fire animals, etc. And you also have a card for each of the elements. We have a fire, water, air, etc. So the animals are separated in different categories, and that's what the borders relate to. And then you'll see on each of the cards you have the animals, and then you have keywords. So if you didn't want to read the guidebooks, you don't have to, but honestly the guidebook is so well written because not only do you learn more about each animal, you learn more about where they live, what are their characteristics, why are they endangered, and all of those things. You also have beautiful divinatory message. The way that it's written by Chip Richard, so beautiful. It's almost like poetic when you read the messages, and this deck has been a balm to my soul. Look at this, it's so cute. This is one of my favorite cards. I love orangutan. They're just so this deck kind of makes me cry, but it is very special. And I've had so many synchronicities with this deck, one of the main one being the stick insect. I remember clearly a day where I pulled this card several times during the same week, and during that exact same week there was a stick insect that landed on my car, wouldn't move, and it was so special. We are very lucky where I live in Réunion. We see them quite a bit even though they're endangered in other places, but it's still something that you don't see often on your car, right? I've only ever seen stick insects on a tree, or maybe at night they would come near the windows they might be attracted by the light, but on the car in plain daylight, that never happened to me. So it was a pretty beautiful synchronicity. I love this particular deck because the animals represented are very different from your stereotypical animals we see in all the other oracle decks. It only has animals that are endangered, and I think it's beautiful angle, and I think it's a reminder again that we need to do better. One cool thing about this deck as well is at the back you have some information about the animals, the status, so are they just endangered or critically endangered, and also like why. For example, like what threats do they face, where is their habitat and things like that. And then at the very back you also have some ideas of foundations and charities and things you might want to check out in case you want to work for protecting the wildlife. I really enjoy this deck. I think it has a point of view that's different. I think it's not your stereotypical animal deck. I think it has something to say. It has a unique voice. The artwork is beautiful. The messages are very healing. And I love it. I mean, it survives the test of time for me. It's been years since I've had it, and I still love it and adore it and use it. So I wanted to shout it out today because I realized I don't talk about it enough on my channel, and it deserves more love. Talking about animal deck, a deck I've been using a ton in the recent months is l'Oracle des Dauphins et des Baleines. This is a French mass market deck by Frédéric Pichard and Gemma Cadevilla. I love this deck so much. Again, you would have seen it if you follow my channel since last year. You would have seen me talking about it a ton this time last year because that's around the time I discovered it, and I brought it back out for the same period of time this year because of the nature of where I live. I live in Réunion, which is a little island in the Indian Ocean, not far from Mauritius or from Madagascar, just to situate you. So obviously the wildlife I encounter is very different to what you would probably see in Australia or the Northern Hemisphere or anything like that. It's particular to the tropical island I'm in. We are very blessed because ocean wildlife is very diverse, and every year humpback whales come to our shore for our winter. So July, August, September, October, that kind of time, they come to have their babies by the Réunion Island shores, and they stay there for a couple of months until they're strong enough to make their way back to Antarctica. During those few months a year, I get to see humpback whales very regularly. If you are lucky, you'll see them even if you're just driving by the coast, but obviously if you take a boat trip or if you sit by the coast and actually, you know, set out with binoculars and stuff, it'll be even better. So humpback whales are very special for me, and whales in general, like ocean mammals, but whales in general are very special in my heart because I've grown up with their energy and because they just speak to me. There's something about them that I think is super majestic, super special. And as the title would suggest, the oracle, l'Oracle des Dauphins et des Baleines, this is literally translating to the oracle of dolphins and whales. So each card represents a different animal from the ocean. We have all the different kinds of dolphins, all the different kind of whales. We have some manta rays as well, and we have some other sea animal, ocean animals like the seahorse, for example. I adore this deck because it's all about ocean energy. You know, the name of my channel is The Waves of Your Soul. My actual name is Marine, and I'm a walking cliche. I love the ocean. A place where I just feel so comfortable. It's a place that makes me feel at home. It's a place that just brings me so much healing and so much rejuvenation, and I just feel at home by the ocean. It's something that has always been the case since I was a child. When I was 6 years old, I was obsessed with dolphins. Dolphins were everything. My whole bedroom was covered in dolphin stuff. I was writing to dolphin charities to be like, hey, is there anything I can do to save the dolphins? I was like 5. They were like, you're cute, but you need to chill. You're too young, but here's some pictures of dolphins to make you happy. Like, I've always been a little bit too obsessed with dolphins. And then obviously living here with all the whales coming every year, this is the humpback whales and their babies. This is what we are lucky to see here 3 months a year. I've just got this particular love for the ocean, and I mean for nature in general. So it's actually very comforting to know that this is the year we've had the most whales, humpback whales in Reunion. More than 500 specimens they have encountered, and they have like recognized, which is a record in the history since they've started counting them up. There's never been that many different specimens. So I know there's always like horrible stories about how the planet is a trash can on fire, and it is, but at least it's nice to know that in some parts, at least for example for the whales, the population is increasing, and obviously the conservation effort is actually working and doing something. So here is my favorite card, the humpback whale. I love her, she's beautiful, she's everything, she's my queen, love you. The guidebook is only in French, obviously it's a French deck as I've mentioned, but honestly the text is very short, so I think you would have no problem translating it using Google Translate. And the way it's set up is that for each of the card, so here we have the starfish, we have one keyword which is lucky or luck, we have a little message as if the starfish speaks to you, and then you have your guidance. So if you've pulled a starfish card, it means your inner child probably needs to express themselves, to find their capacity to marvel in front of the beauty of life. Maybe you've lost your connection with the stars, the one that shine at the bottom of the ocean, the one that shine in the sky, and the one that shines in your heart. Maybe you have a tendency to not want to grab the opportunities and the luck that the life is offering you sometimes. And then the message or the mantra, I connect back with my inner stars, the one that is guiding me towards enthusiasm. So that's super beautiful, and for every single card you also have a little meditation. And also, if I'm not mistaken, in the guidebook you have a website that you can go to where you have access to audio files where it's like whale sounds, because the person who wrote this is actually a specialist in whales and dolphins. Like they have been diving, recording whales and dolphins, and so I wanted to shout this out because it's one of my favorite decks anyway, but at this particular time of year it's something I love to work with, to connect with ocean energy. And it's something maybe you guys don't see a lot because it's a French deck, so I wanted to introduce it to you today. Next up, it's an oracle that's not an oracle. We have Dixit cards. I love working with Dixit. If you guys don't know, it's one of my favorite ways to expand my intuition, to work with my imagination, and to just play and let my inner child take over a little bit. If you don't know what Dixit is, it's originally a board game. I don't necessarily understand all the rules, I'm gonna be honest. I think it's something around like you have to pull some cards and tell a story, and the people have to recognize the cards that you're choosing, something like that. I don't know, I've never played. I'm not interested, I'm just interested in the cards because they're really cool. So they sell different expansion packs where you just have cards that are created by different artists, and every single extension pack is created by a different artist, so it's a different style, and it's cards that have no keywords, that are all kind of like fantastical fantasy. Some of them are more childlike, some of them are more like fantasy style, but the idea is that you can use those cards as portals to your intuition, and you can turn those cards as an oracle, and that's what I love to do. So I've got a couple of expansions that I love. This one that I've been using recently is the memory expansion pack, I think it's called, but I love the Quest one, and I would really love the Disney one, but I think it's more expensive than the expansion one, so I don't know, I might wait until it's like on sale or something. The way that I use this is as if it was an oracle, but without keywords. It allows me to read super intuitively. This is a deck I use if I want to do dream work particularly. It's brilliant because it's very free. Spiritual type readings where I'm not constraining myself to specific spreads and specific structure, but I want things to be very flowy if I'm trying to channel, because it can really let your intuition flow, and it allows you to gain a lot of meanings that are unique and different. And every single time I'm gonna pull a card, it's gonna tell me a different story, depending what other cards are near it, depending on the question I'm asking, the mood I'm in, all of those things. So this is just a lot of fun. It's very freeing, and it's one of my favorite ways to use cards that are not meant to be oracles, but that just turn into oracles. I've been very tempted to turn this particular extension, the memory one, into a tarot deck because there's 80 cards and I'm pretty sure I could make a functioning tarot deck out of that. But at the same time, I love this so much, the way I'm using it, that I don't know if I want to write anything on the cards and suddenly attach one particular meaning to it instead of, and lose the freedom that I can have by reading it fully intuitively. I love this. Like garlic Dracula, so cute. Let's talk about l'Oracle de la Guérison Mystique. This is the French edition of an oracle that exists in English. I just don't know what it's called in English, so I'll put it in the description box. It's by Ina Seagal, and the illustrations by Jake Bailey. It's a mass market deck. In English, it's mass market as well. Like I said, I don't know what it's called in English. I lost it. Something probably around the Oracle of Mystical Healing, that might be it, if it's translated word by word. But this is again an older deck. I've had this for a few years, and I kind of like reconnected with it recently in the last few months, so I wanted to share it again, because I've not talked about it in a while on my channel, and that's really what this particular video it's about. It's about sharing with you decks. Maybe I don't talk about them enough, but behind the scene I'm using them a lot, and I just want to share them with you today, give them their time in the spotlight. So this is particularly great if you are in the mood to do some shadow work, because the keywords are really meant to help you go there, really meant to help you look at the things that are blocking you, the things that are challenging you, that maybe we don't really want to be looking at within ourselves, and yet that we need to in order to be more aware and empowered. So here we have keeping our premises, reinforce your concentration, we have balance your critical behavior, open your heart, that's gorgeous, meditate, relieve your anxiety, love your body. So as you can see, the keywords are not your like stereotypical love and light, happy, positive oracle deck. This has really been specifically created to help you look at your shadow, look at your more shadow parts of yourself, do a little bit of the harder work. Here we have set some boundaries, let go of control. Definitely one of those oracles that's gonna get you to do the work. I wouldn't use this deck to just do like, oh, what's gonna happen today, or pull a card a day. No, this is the kind of deck I use when I want to do some work, I want to do some journaling, I want to create maybe a tarot spread around it, I want to go a little bit deeper and look at my ish. This is really good for that. The artwork is interesting. It's not my favorite. Like, I can appreciate how beautiful it is. It's just not my personal favorite, but it does go really well with decks such as like the Golden Tarot, for example. Honestly, I didn't really buy it for the artwork. I bought it for the structure, the guidebook and everything, and it works. But for each of the cards, you have the main key phrases, then you have a little other sentence, you have the message about what it means, and then you have action. And the action is where it's at, because a lot of the time when we do shadow work, or when we are invited to look at the parts of ourselves that are not necessarily easy to look at, it's easy to be like, oh, let go of control. Yeah, okay, easier said than done, but how do I do that? How do I let go of control? Here, you've got an action, so it's going to be a meditation or a prompt or something that actually helps you to take the first steps towards letting go of control. So I really appreciate this guidebook because it is action driven. It's not like just here's your message and off you go and good luck. No, this is holding your hand through the process, and I think it's very well constructed. I think this is one of the best oracle decks I have found personally, at least to get started into shadow work. If you are someone who's already been doing the work a lot, then you might not necessarily need this, although it can be a nice reminder, and like a reminder of some of the things that we need to be doing. But if you are wanting to get into shadow work, you don't know where to start, and you just want something that's going to hold your hand, you want something that's going to help you go a little bit deeper, this is fantastic. And again, I will leave you the English name in the description box below. But the last deck I wanted to shout out today, it's another shadow work oriented deck. It's the Lantern Oracle by Angelina Mirabito and Yuli Alejo. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. It's another mass market deck. This is by Blue Angels, and this is something I've only received in the last 3 months, so it's fairly new, but it's something I've not been able to put down and something that I'm so happy I finally picked up. When this first came out, it was very hyped and I was like, is this really gonna be as good as what people say? Well, yes, it is. It's really cool and I'm super happy I finally picked it up. So the Lantern Oracle is dedicated again to the idea of shadow work, of exploring ourselves, of exploring our psyche, of looking at the parts of ourselves maybe that are not so pretty to look at and yet that are very beneficial for us to do. It's the kind of deck you want to be using if you're into introspective work, if you're into journaling, if you're into self-development, but it's not a fluffy deck and it's not a deck that's gonna be like, oh, everything is fine, you're doing great, sweetie. No, it's also not gonna be too mean. I definitely have other decks that are way meaner. I think this is a good in between. I would say the energy of this deck feels like an older sister, but I can imagine that having an older sister would feel like this, the energy of someone who loves you and supports you, but also is gonna call you out when you are in the wrong. So the way that this deck is set up is that you have different categories. You have Maiden, Mother, and Crone. We're working with Divine Feminine energy here, and each of those categories corresponds to a different aspect of our soul. So the Maiden part of ourselves would be more creative, spontaneous, enthusiastic, naive. The Mother one is more about nurturing and protecting, and the Crone energy is a lot more around wisdom, teaching some lessons, around gathering experience and all of those. So I thought, so first off, the way that the oracle is structured is very interesting. The second part that completely made me fall in love with it obviously is the artwork. It's so beautiful. It's even more beautiful in person. Like, I always think when I'm looking at pictures of it online that it doesn't do it justice, and even now looking at my video, it doesn't look as pretty as it does in person. In person the colors pop even more. I love the keywords. I love the whole sentences on the cards as well. I think that they are really expensive. I love the fact that we see different ages of women, we see different ethnicity, different body shapes. It's really beautifully done. The thing that really makes this stand out as well is the guidebook. I mean, the person who wrote it has a PhD, so you know that they know what they're talking about, right? As I was saying, we have four phases. We have the Maiden, the Mother, the Guardian, I forgot that one, and the Crone. So I forgot about the Guardian, but each card is categorized within those different phases or those different aspects of ourselves. You have some really cool spreads here that can really take your hand and help you start your shadow work journey. And then the way it's built, a repeat of the text that's on the card, and then you have about 2 pages for each of the card, and every time at the end a little summary of either the Maiden, the Mother, the Guardian, or the Crone, depending what category the card is a part of. But this is really well written. It really takes your hand to work through a particular idea, a particular concept. Here we're talking about enoughness, for example. The messages here are really potent, and I couldn't really see myself working with the deck without the guidebook because I've enjoyed the guidebook so much, but obviously you could because you have the keyword and the key sentence on the card. So if you wanted to just work with the deck, especially if you wanted to pair it with tarot and not have to go into the guidebook and stuff, then you absolutely could. Like, there's not necessarily a need to go in the guidebook. It's just that I've particularly been enjoying it because I really enjoyed what it had to say. So the Lantern Oracle has been a beautiful surprise. It's worth the hype. I understand why everyone has been buzzing on about it for the last few years because it's awesome. And if you were on the fence like me, I can say that I don't regret it. So that's what I'd say. So my friends, this is it. These were the oracle decks I wanted to share with you today. I'm realizing I think I've only shared mostly mass market, so I guess we'll call this the mass market edition, which is fun. I enjoy sharing options that are affordable and easier for people to find. Let me know if you enjoy this particular kinds of video. I would love to know in the comments what oracle decks you've been loving. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. I hope you're having a good month, and until my next video, I'm sending you so much good vibes and keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!